So, I am not saying that I necessarily know enough of anything, but I do want to say that I know that everybody has a very poor grasp of who is commenting on for the sake of that whole quote spirit cooking situation, the Marina Abramovic controversy. And I've listened to her a handful of times now. One or two interviews, one of her lectures on art and performing arts, and she's, she's absolutely a witch. Do not get me wrong. But then again, so the fuck am I. What of it? Right? So, for the most part, you understand Abramovich as a product of her critics. And there's a lot of people that you would hold in perhaps lower esteem that love her work because of the Hollywood world that loves her. Now, after listening to her, whatever, she's got her vision for art. You may think that there's something underhandedly nefarious, which I'm concerned about that because the association to spirit cooking, right? This is not about dismissing spirit cooking. You can't dismiss spirit cooking. It's about asking ourselves, has spirit cooking been pre-framed, misframed prematurely as to what she was doing with spirit cooking? I don't see her I don't see what she's teaching people. Everything she said, everything I've heard her say, talking in the couple of places that she has, I've agreed with. Right? She's not commenting on spirit cooking or any other things, but like performance artist stuff like this. And for what people are looking for, going back to the 70s forward, when she's talking about her personal experiences, when I'm seeing her level of relationship with, I guess, her students, her audience, and everyone else, and everything else, I think that she was just an authentic person with a crazy dark occult side who knew what to do to make it big in our art world. And naturally the art world is always going to have its criticism from fundamentalist Christian type peoples and everyone else. And then there's of course the intensity of our times, but art is always going to be a part of the intensity of our times. And I think that she had no idea why some of the people loved what she was doing. And I don't think she was trying to create evil with her art, but her art had to show evil, right? I love horror films. And I love horror music called heavy metal music, right? And any personal regaling of quote evil symbolism would be part of the art piece. And it's the question of, am I playing a role to expose evil, or am I playing a role to misrepresent evil? And I think that her art, because spirit cooking was never meant to get out like as a particular kind of thing, right? And it's the emotion of it is capturing the thing that you're supposed to capture about it, which is like the creation of an abusive environment, a cold, dark, abusive environment. And she talks about how she's does a lot of her pain-based art because she was dealing with the traumas of her life. And I've known plenty of people that go into professional art. This is the way they are. Good people. She might be one of these people that we historically think of, have called by what we think is proper sciences and such Jews. She might be. I mean, her name is Abramovic. So either that name is coming from Brahmanism and something more Hindu, or it's coming from, I mythologically think my family line is from Abraham, and our family changed our name to Abramovic a long time ago, and we're not going to tell our descendants about that because we're all delusional fundamentalists, right? And then you have to live with your hijacked identity. And there's a certain truth in your identity moving forward, just as far as identifying family name with peoples and things that happened in history from that point forward. But you're also talking about the obscuration of who you were before you changed your identity. So, I think that the higher force used Abramovic, who was living in her alignment, to walk in, and she's just working through suffering. Little does she know that they were tricking her into making sympathetic magic for things like Frazzle Drip and Epstein's Delights and so on and so forth. She doesn't know this. She just knows they want her to do this art piece, and it's a commission, right? She's getting paid to do her performance art for high up people. This is a delight to her because she's been wanting to elevate the her art her entire life as part of whatever her thing is. And we hear her talk at her seminars and we understand what her thing is. And I couldn't find anything in her values I could fucking object to. She sounded fucking like a right pagan witch to me, to be honest. If you know how to read the subtext. So I think it's entirely possible. This is just me. Like, there's one way it could be and another way it could be. This is just the way my Libra mind is deliberating, showing you you're missing this whole other argument. I'm like listening to like a shadow defense and a shadow prosecution on the global stage, and the judge is coming out and making sense of what these two lawyers for these two clients have told me that you didn't hear in your court of law. So she does this magic, and they think that this spell is going to give them the power by transforming it for revelation of method, so they get your unconscious consent to do their thing with their karma. But I think she might have been pure of heart, and the art is not the blackness in her heart. She revealed the blackness in their heart. And that might be why she thinks Donald Trump could be saving us from evil in some way, shape, or form as she believes it. Has said it. These are interesting things. Because, hey, listen, this is surprise number 2. Surprise number 1 with Iran, as I mentioned in the prior video, I'll get them public in a minute, was that Soleimani was in Baghdad, meaning we caught Iran red-handed actually propagating ISIS, the ideals of the caliphate, all of that shit that we suffered through the Obama administration. And now Iran's been struck, and there's no Russia, there's no China, there's no major nations. Iran stands alone, falling by itself under a police action by the United States joint effort with Israel. Fascinating, eh? I don't know if we're really looking at a greater Israel project out of this, because I think ISIS had to have destabilized the region, and we restabilized the region long before that happened. We'll see. One way or the other, I don't think it's going to be as bad as we think it is, but it will be as bad as it wants to be for those that are determined to participate. You be wise, let them destroy themselves, because it's not our place to get in the way of their wish to have a war. If both of them have shook hands with Ares, then the bloodshed is fair game on the battlefield. And considering a threat is like invoking the god of war, then let your threats be invocations of war, and there is no need for fucking sympathy between fighting military enemy combatants. And we have to make sure that reports of who's bombing what alleged civilians is true and correct. And what it all means. And what does any of it matter? Because, come to the table. Besides which, you're just dying for the sake of your ideal at this point, because you're not dying because you're going to win. I'm not saying America's going to turn out great by the end of this, but I have a feeling that everybody is just lying to themselves. That here we are. We can now get past the narrative, because now we've finally done it. We can move along. And, there were points many, many years ago where different decisions could have been made. Those decisions were not made. These things have been baked in the cake for many years, and one can tell. I can't be an ideologue like that, because I operate into the understanding that the world changes, and that you may have a narrower view of the world than you thought, which will force you to have a completely different shift in order to preserve higher ideals than the ideals of just how you think we ought to kumbaya the fucking thing. All right, I'll catch you guys later.